For our second module, we're going to go in and create and edit some drawing views. And our goal is to use AutoCAD and Inventor models or assemblies. And we're going to create those orthographic multi-view drawings. We're going to create an auxiliary view from an inclined surface to show true size and true shape, sort of an undocumented feature. And also we're going to bring in an assembly. So let's take a look at how we can create and edit drawing views. For our first drawing view example, we have this simple part. And we need to create a 4-view projection of this part. And think back to the days when you learned about creating orthographic projections in your first drafting class or CAD class. Everything was done manually. You had to draw construction lines and offset. Well, in AutoCAD 2012 and 2013, we have drawing views. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to my paper space layout on my ANSI B sheet of paper. And I do call your attention that we do not have any viewports. So no viewports are needed because drawing views are just that, drawing views objects. So they're new objects in AutoCAD. I do also want to call your attention to the UCS, and I'm going to type in plan to go to my top view or my plan view. And a trick that I use is I try to orientate the part based on the world coordinate system, so my orientation of the views come out the way I think they should. And usually what I do is I have my most critical contour being in my front view, and then some of my other views will change accordingly. So let's go in and let's create some drawing views. First thing we start with is the base view, and I'm going to go from model space for my AutoCAD model space 3D part. And I noticed that I don't know what this is. Is that the front view, the top view, the right side view? I'm pretty sure it's one of the side views, but I'm just not quite sure. One of the things that I can do is come down into the command line and select the word orientation. And when I select the word orientation, I could pick top, bottom, current, right. You can see all the different orientation picks I have. I'm going to guess top, and sure enough, there's my top view. I also want to call your attention up to the top where it says orientation in the drawing view creation tab, orientation panel. I could click here also to get the same result. So I'm going to place my first drawing view. And then I'm going to project down to get my front view. Press enter, and there I've created my 2 drawing views. Let me zoom that up for you a little bit so we can see that better. And now what I need to do is create a few more views. Well, the views that I want to create next are projected views. So I'm going to go into project that view, and I want to project that front view. The first thing I want to do is I want to create a right side view, and then I want to create an isometric view. But I do call your attention as I move this around, you can see all the different views, the main orthographic views and my isometric views that I can create anywhere on my sheet of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and place that view in its isometric position. Now, let's reorientate this a little bit. If I grab this view and select a view, I have a grip where I can move this up and down. I can't move the view any other way, up, down, or right, or left, but notice what follows. So I've sort of selected the parent, and the child of this parent follows along. I can also go in and change the view scale if I would like. So I select the arrow and then change the scale to any scale that I want. Quarters too small, I'm going to go 1 to 2 to bring that back. If I select the child and move the child, you can see I can move the child from the parent, but the child also has a child, and that's the right side view. So you can see as I move this, what moves with it, and how I can move my different views. I just don't care for the isometric view the way it looks. So I can select that isometric view, and I can come up to the Drawing View tab on the Edit panel. And I could edit the view by selecting Edit View, and I have some options. First of all, I can look at my edge visibility, and I can turn on or turn off tangent edges if there is an issue with those. So I can see, if you just watch as I keep clicking this, the tangential edges based on those fillets or those arcs on the tabs on the bottom. I think I'm going to leave those on for today. But I am going to come over and go shaded with visible lines. And there's my view completed. So you can see in just a few minutes, I was able to create 4 views from my AutoCAD 3D model. As I look at this view, I don't really like the size or the scale of that isometric view. So I think I am going to scale that up after all. I'm going to go to 1:1 and see how large. 1:1 looks pretty good. How about 1:2? Now I'm going to go back to 1:1. So I'm changing that scale, and I could move that view independently by using the grip to place the isometric view where I want. I also noticed that inner hole, it looks like a counter bore that's been bored into the part. Doesn't look like it's the right diameter, so I'm going to recheck the drawing. This diameter needs to be enlarged. So let's make a change to this diameter. I'm going to use sub-object editing techniques, and you're going to see me use this later on in another module. But I'm going to go ahead and select the face of the diameter of that object. And then if I right-click and select Properties, I'm going to bring up the Properties palette to make some changes. And we need to change the radius, meaning the diameter, of course, to a larger diameter for that hole. So the engineering change order needed a 4-unit diameter hole that will be bored with our milling machine in that part. So now after I've made that change, I'm going to come back to my ANSI B drawing, and I noticed that a balloon comes up and says the model has changed. Do you need to update each view singularly or all the views at one time? Now, why did this happen? I call your attention first up to the top under the Update panel. You can see Auto Update. If I had that turned on, the drawing views would automatically update without the balloon notification. So again, do you want it turned on or off? It's your workflow of how you would like it. So I'm just going to say update all the views of this drawing, and now you notice how that projection has changed and how the drawing has changed to reflect the change that I put in that 3D model. I think from now on I'm just going to turn on auto updates. When we make changes for future models, I won't get those red boxes around my object. So let's move on to a different model. In Autodesk Inventor, we have a simple 3D part here, but we need to create the drawing views inside of AutoCAD from this part. Now, of course, in Inventor, we can create IDWs, which are very similar to drawing views in AutoCAD. So if you know Inventor and how to create drawings in Inventor, creating them in AutoCAD is very similar. So let's go into AutoCAD and let's create some drawing views of this Inventor part. And then we're going to come back in and edit the part. Inside of AutoCAD, I started a blank drawing. And in this drawing, I'm going to create a base view. And then I'm going to project those views. So I'm going to go into my ANSI B layout, and I notice that there's a title block in here. And for today, I don't really need that. And I don't need any viewports. So I'm going to erase out the information that I don't need. If you already have your title block and border in place, then of course create your drawing views inside of that area. I'm going to start with the base view. And this time I'm going to go from Inventor. And I'm going to grab the Inventor part that I've created and bring the Inventor part into AutoCAD. So that IPT into AutoCAD. Now when that part comes into AutoCAD, I don't know what view orientation we have again. Is it front, right, side? I noticed the scale at the top is set to 8:1, but I'm going to go with my top view because I think that's the way I set that. So under orientation, I'm going to use the orientation panel top today, and there it is. There's a good top view of that part. And then I'm going to press enter and project down to get my front view. And I could project over to the right or to the left or any way to create any other projected views. I'm going to press enter to accept those two views. I notice that my line type scale is a little bit off, so I need to reset my LT scale. I'm going to set my LT scale to 0.25, and there the LT scale looks appropriate. I'm going to do a projected view of the front view to create my isometric and press enter, and it creates my isometric view. I'm going to go back in and select my isometric view, and maybe I could change the scale. Let's see what it would be. 1 to 1. That's very small. Let's go 1 to 8. That's very small. How about 8 to 1? There we have 8 to 1. So our scale is set 8 to 1. How about 10 to 1? So again, I can keep changing my scales to whatever it is based on the parent or from the parent as I'm creating that. So again, adjusting the scales, for that isometric, you can put it at whatever you would like. I'm going to come in and then select it again, but this time I'm going to edit the view, and I'm going to change that visibility here to shaded with visible lines. Or maybe this one I want to do shaded with visible and hidden lines to get a different perspective of how that part looks. So again, whatever your workflow is or whatever the drawing calls for, you have the ability to make those changes. So I'm going to go ahead and save the drawing and go back into Inventor. So as I go back into Inventor, I notice that I need to change the part. And I'm going to change the part on hole 6. And I noticed that the engineering change order that I just received says edit that part and change the diameter to 0.025. And then on hole number 7, change that diameter to 0.01. So I made those subtle changes to that part, and I think I'm going to go ahead and save that part off. I'm going to go back into AutoCAD, and I'm going to open that last drawing that I was working on. And let's see if there's any changes that automatically happen. And sure enough, there they are. I'm going to zoom it in, and you can see that the holes are considerably smaller, and it automatically updated that part. Now, why did it do that? Because remember in the last exercise, I turned on auto update, so those changes automatically happened. So in this case, we use an Autodesk Inventor IPT to create a 3-view projection. In this example, we are required to create a multi-view drawing of this assembly. These are AutoCAD 3D parts. And I'm going to go into my ANSI B layout and create the base view from model space. I believe that is the front view. I'm going to press enter, project up, project to the right, and project my isometric view and press enter. I'm also going to take a look at the view itself, and I notice that I really like that shaded ability. I just don't know why. I do a lot of printing in color. So I'm going to go ahead and select the view and reset to shaded with visible and hidden lines. Let's take a look at how that looks. You know what? That's a little bit too much. I need to back that down a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and select the view again, edit my view, and reset to shaded with visible lines. That's a nice view. I like that. But I do notice that I'm missing something. And what I'm missing is a plug. There's a plug on the top that's not there. So I'm going to go back into my Model tab, into Model Space, and insert a plug. And I'm going to insert the plug at 20 units in the X, 8 units in the Y, and 7 units in the Z, and click OK. And notice that that plug appears right at the top where that hole is, and hopefully it's centered accordingly. I'm going to go into my ANSI B layout, and if you notice, it automatically placed that plug in the right location. So what I wanted to show you was when I was going in here to create this view, as we've created the drawing views in AutoCAD, but we realized, oh, I forgot a part or I need to change a part. you can always add that to the assembly and the drawing views will update. Let's do it one more time. I'm going to go in and erase this part right here. When I go into my drawing, now you can see how the part has changed. So not only can we add, we can always subtract from the model, which changes the drawing views. What a great technique.